We're just missing Keith and Renee.
Yeah, there's.
All right.
You ready, Craig?
You need to move Craig. Someone get Sylvia's chair. I don't want to.
So it's punishment, they made us sit at the
That's
table.
right, exactly.
All right, it is 5:34. We're gonna start our work session. I'm Council President Young, Mayor Rosen, not Mayor, is out today. So we have one work session item, Sherwood West Pump Station update. Okay.
Awesome. Well, I'll let CWS introduce everybody. You all know Joe here, but I'll let them introduce. So this is the conversation we've actually talked a little bit about a future pump station going into my Roger property. Clean Water Services has done a couple different renderings over the time, and here we are to talk about it again. It'd be nice at the end of the night if we can kind of let CWS know if we're interested in doing this or we're not, because they got work to do if we're not interested in it. And I think they're gonna get started on that other work. So turn over to you, Joe.
Thanks, Craig. I don't know if everyone may know who I'm Joe Gall. I'm Chief Utility Relations Officer for Clean Water Services, and used to be the city manager here 3 years ago. So it's nice to be back at City Hall. You want to introduce yourself, sir?
I'm Chris Faulkner. I'm in our systems planning group at Clean Water Services. I do a lot of coordination with the cities around long range planning, land use, utilities, and all that sort of thing.
I'm Andy Braun, the Capital Planning Division Manager. I had the pleasure of meeting with you here a few months ago about a different project, and thank you for inviting us back again tonight to talk about another capital project. So again, my role is Capital Planning Division Manager, Clean Water Services, and along with Chris, been very active over the years, working with Sherwood on the planning for Sherwood West. And really that's what we're here to talk about, is how we can support the growth of that area through the infrastructure needs. So my comments are very short and simple there, and I'm going to turn it over to our subject matter expert, and that's Jeff Hart, who is our pump station guru.
The official title?
Yeah. It is now.
It is now.
I want that business card.
So yeah, I'm Jeff Hart, pump station guru. Yeah, so I lead the pump station group, Clean Water Services, principal engineer. I also do engineering for recycled water programs, so a lot of the irrigation that we use coming out of our treatment plants. And over in Forest Grove, we have a natural treatment system called Fernhill, so I was the lead engineer on that project.
So Craig, we have about 30 minutes, 25 minutes.
Okay. Okay, so Chicken Creek Pump Station is what we're talking about today. Okay, so Craig kind of already went over this about what the purpose of this meeting is. Ideally, coming out of this meeting, we'd like to understand if, the city does have some interest, not interest in putting the pump station on that particular property. We'll get into the details of where that property is. And if we can't reach that consensus, agree on what the next steps would be to try to come to that consensus. All right, so just a little bit of background information on what Clean Water Services does and the pump station itself. So I'll start with the picture on the bottom, and then kind of the small words up there will come along. So what happens when you flush the toilet? Everything that is in the toilet goes downhill. We call that gravity. The sewage is going by gravity. Once it starts going in from your house, it goes into pipes within the roadway. Those are small diameter gravity pipes. Those are typically operated and maintained by the cities, not Clean Water Services. Eventually, those smaller pipes connect together. When they connect together, they get bigger and bigger until they get to a certain diameter or size where it becomes a large trunk, and that's where Clean Water Services takes over the operation and maintenance. Then again, that's all downhill. So eventually you get to a low spot where you can't go downhill anymore. So at that point in time, you have two options of what you can do. You can either put a treatment plant there, or you can pump up and out of that low spot. It's not financially a good decision to put little tiny treatment plants all over the place. So most of the time it is a pump station. As a district, we have 44 pump stations right now. We're planning and designing 9 new pump stations, so there's a lot more coming with all the growth that's occurring within the county here. So that's the pump station, the pipeline right here that gets pumped through, that's called the force main. It's forced, the sewage is forced through it or pumped. And then it hits the treatment plant where it gets treated and gets discharged back to the river. As I was saying before, a lot of my role as well as doing the engineering for taking this water that instead of going to the river, diverting it and using it for irrigation at various places. So now I'll circle back to what it says right there. So Clean Water Services is responsible for operation maintenance of pump stations, treatment plants, force mains, and those large diameter gravity sewers. Okay, so what this map is, it's a map coming from our East Basin facility plan. Clean Water Services has 2 separate basins, a West Basin and East Basin. This is showing Clean Water Services infrastructure. So you see the kind of the multicolored line there. Those are our gravity trunks. And then you have kind of those boxes, either red or purple. Those are our pump stations. And then up here, or what shape is that? That's a pentagon. The pentagon is the Durham treatment plant there. So what's happening in Sherwood is, as Andy was saying, this lighter blue area, we'll have a better map on the next slide to show this lighter blue area, is planned expansion within the city. And everything that's going to be grown here will be going to this gravity trunk. And what the colors designate as green means it's okay, it has enough capacity. But then once you start getting to the red color, the purple color, those are various limitations in terms of capacity. So this entire trunk line here, it does not have the capacity to handle the potential growth here. Same with this pump station. So the Sherwood pump station is designated red, does not have the capacity to handle the growth. So that's the problem we're facing within the next 5, 10, 20 years within the city. So the need for a new pump station. So we have, like I was just saying, there's capacity concerns. This section of pipe right here goes through the Tualatin Wildlife Refuge. And as of right now, it is an aging pipeline. It's one of our oldest gravity trunks we have as a district. It is aging, has some issues with I&I as well, which is inflow and infiltration. This pipeline itself is also very hard to maintain. Again, it's going through the wildlife refuge. A lot of the times in the winter, the wildlife refuge floods, which makes it impossible for us to get to the pipe itself if we do need to get to it. So there's quite a few reasons why this pipeline going through the refuge is a concern for the district.
Jeff, that pipe has been there, that predates the refuge.
It does.
Is that correct?
Yeah. It was installed prior to the refuge being built. Yeah. No, as I was saying, the Sherwood pump station itself is just like this gravity trunk, is about the same vintage year, very old, and is in need of being upgraded and upsized and optimized as well. Okay, so what exactly is the solution to all those issues that we were just talking about? What we're showing right here is that solution where we would install a pump station somewhere in this location. We have identified the city property as that location that we would pump down and around the wildlife refuge. Okay, it would give us the ability to abandon this section of pipeline that is no longer sized adequately, is old and aging, and is not accessible when it floods. And it'll take, all this flow coming from the Brookman area, potentially this urban reserve area and Sherwood West. Maybe as a lot of you might know, this section of pipe right here down Long Roy Regis Road is in the ground already. Okay, so putting the pump station itself on that city property, there's a lot of different opportunities for the community itself for putting the pump station there. It'll help expand Sherwood's path network and trail access. There's going to be some other slides coming up that show the city's trail master plan and how it can relate integrated pump station to connect the natural environment and essential public infrastructure. So over here, we'll show this again in a different slide, but this is the city of Tualatin. This right here is a pump station. There's some infographics here within this area that show the public what exactly is happening within the building. It's pretty well hidden. And enhance a public amenity. We have some ideas. We've done this before where we've built a restroom within the pump station building to help provide an amenity to the community, to the public. Parking lots, there's a lot of different things that we can combine with the construction of the pump station that can be an opportunity for the community itself. All right, so the next two slides do show this city trail plan. Again, to orient everyone, Roy Rogers Road is coming down where my hand is. We got 99 right here. So you can see that these dashed lines, get the purple dashed lines and red dashed lines. It's really hard to see, but there's yellow dashed lines right here. These are all potential trails that the city has within their master plan, including this purple line, which is the ISH Tonkin Trail, which I believe starts down in Wilsonville, down to the Willamette River. It goes all the way up through Wilsonville, through Tualatin to Sherwood. So it is not just a city trail, it is a regional trail that we're looking at there. The other part that's on here that we've added is this gravity line. As you saw on one of the previous slides, that section of gravity pipe is undersized as well. So this could be a future topic, a future discussion, but I will mention that, with a lot of different things potentially happening within this creek corridor, like gravity line improvements, trail construction, potential creek enhancement. These all could be knocked out and done with one project, one integrated project there. So just want to mention that as something to think about in the future as we move forward.
Was trail construction?
What's that?
Trail construction?
The trail.
Trail, okay.
So that would be these two dashed lines here. So you have multiple different things happening within this corridor here. Okay, so now we are looking at that property itself. So all the previous maps up was north. We've kind of rotated the viewpoint here to where north is to the right. So see if you can orient yourself there. We have Roy Rogers Road.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
So I saw in your previous map, you had an existing Sherwood pump station. Exist in a different location. Is that still gonna be utilized as well? Is this additional to that?
It will. I'll go back to that slide. Yeah, so there's two major trunks going into the Sherwood pump station. There's this one here that we're talking about, but there's also the second trunk that handles a lot of the eastern portion of Sherwood that will still be entering the pump station. So that it will.
You can't just upgrade the capacity of that pump station, you need a second pump station instead?
So that pump station can be upgraded to handle that.
You just can't get the shit there.
Right, exactly. It's this section right here is the primary issue.
Exactly. But how is it getting there now?
It's going through this pipeline that
It's
is.
a gravity pipeline.
Gravity.
And you're saying a gravity pipeline won't work anymore? You're not.
Well, they installed the replacement.
And I can.
That's all right, you can beat up or whatever.
Yeah, so that pipeline itself is unmaintainable. We can't get to it in the winter. It's undersized.
A different route.
Yes.
And the new route would not be, gravity won't work for the new route.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, a little bit more background. In 2019, we did take a look at other gravity ways. If, could we go gravity kind of along this route where my hand's following, so you're not going through the wildlife refuge. There were 4 or 5 different alternatives that were developed in 2019, and the pump station, the pipeline was the selected route, the most preferred route.
Okay.
And then last year, we went back. We took a look at it again, see if any of the conditions changed, and that was still the preferred.
Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
No, that's a really good question. Okay. So same coloring with the different trails. Okay, we have trails coming in. This property itself has 2 creeks coming through that meet, and then Chicken Creek comes through. And then it was hard to see on the previous slide, but they're up through here. There's a lot of more natural type trails, quite a few of them kind of go through this area. So, the project team was taking a look at this site itself and So this kind of darker green area is probably what would be the more developed area within this property itself. And then down where there's more wetlands, down to the creek would be the natural area. Okay, so this is just one rendition. They're obviously just concept. It can change at any time of what it can look like. So we have the pump station here, this brown box. So this is the maximum pump station footprint. We can definitely downsize it. That's about 7,500 square feet. And that the bigger the pump station is, the more beneficial it is for our operation maintenance staff. So we could make it smaller. It just becomes less ideal from an operation maintenance standpoint. Parking lot coming in.
Building that was like level to the ground and stands up from the ground like 10, 12, 20 feet high, what?
Yeah, it can look like larger. Well, so I'll have some other slides here that show what it could look like. I mean, the general consensus is it can really look like anything. We can all agree on what it could look like.
Did you bury it like a bunker and then put a tennis court on top of it or something?
You could, but that's definitely not ideal. It would make operation maintenance very, very difficult. I mean, at that point in time, if we would bury it, we might have to look at other properties because that's not ideal. So you do, something like this, like all the paving, since we will have to bring in a contractor to do the paving, we could pave a parking lot. We could have a restroom here. That's a public amenity for the community. So there, a lot of the backbone infrastructure for developing this lot as a natural area, trail area for the city could be included within the pump station project itself. And I will mention, so the landscape architect that was looking at this kind of looked at this as the gateway. So back on this, there's many trails kind of up through this wetland natural area. And the landscape architect was looking at this and thinking about it as a gateway to those western trails.
I assume the buildings in the lower right are the existing.
This one here, yeah, that's the existing building. Oh, yeah.
And what's that other building kind of adjacent to? Was that a garage?
Yeah.
This
yes,
is-
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is what that box, the big brown box, was based off of. So this is the Dawson Creek Pump Station. It's just south of the Hillsborough Airport. So if you're going down Brookwood, up in the Hillsborough area, you see something that looks like this. That's what this pump station is. It's one of our largest pump stations that we have. There's an electrical building here, and then everything else is outside, but it is fenced in with a nice architectural done fence. We have a backup generator, some open space to access the pumps, and some above ground piping. Okay, so this is the most ideal scenario from an operation maintenance standpoint. The next slide, I'll kind of go back to the basics of what, how exactly a pump station operates, just for some more background information.
We really don't have time for that.
Yes, that is true. Okay. So just some real general questions that get asked is noise, odor, operation maintenance. So the pump crew, they will visit this place, the pump station, once a week. There are no odors. There is an extensive odor control system that is installed within our pump stations. And from a noise perspective, there is.
How do you control the stench?
There's multiple different ways. You can add chemical, or you can do carbon filters. For this particular scenario, we'd probably do a carbon filter. And then for noise, if there's not a dual power feed, there will be a backup generator that would only operate if power gets cut off. And the generator itself will have a sound attenuated enclosure around it to meet city noise ordinances. Okay, so just some examples of what it could look like. Again, this is the one that we have in Tualatin. There's train trestles around here, and this was designed to look like kind of a train station. So outside, inside. Couple other examples. The house that's there right now is a red house. So wanted to find another example of something that looked like a red house, in case the same type of theme was wanting to be looked there. So just a couple examples. That wraps everything up. just as a summary, the site itself, the pump station itself, very flexible on what it can look like. There's a lot, we can really build anything. So it's just a matter of cost and operation maintenance, how accessible it is for our staff. And again, from the last bullet point there is it does provide educational opportunity, community amenities to have a restroom there. So I wanted to wrap it up and open it up for questions or see if we did want to.
Suggesting, this is forcing our hand potentially on how we would use this dirt. We haven't had a conversation as a council that what we would be doing with it beyond leveraging the natural areas. So we certainly want to be a good partner. In your potential scenario, how much would you pay the city for that plot of dirt that the pump station's on and access to it?
That is something that we'd have to determine, get an appraisal, negotiate.
What do we pay for this property?
800 and
Something.
something like that. So I'm generally disappointed, first to give you the negative of kind of forcing our hand, and other than a little bit through staff of the project, we're supportive of building out and making sure that the shed flows. But it was the way how you're gonna do it was all internal, which is you're right. But all said and done, and you built the line, you put it up into the edge of the dirt. I'm supportive. If the deal is a good enough deal, and trust the staff to negotiate it. Definitely parking, bathrooms, amenities, and money. Significant.
Any other questions?
Not really questions, I mean, I'd like to see is, if, like, sounds like this is gonna be a park now, which I think, was one of the options, wasn't the only option we had for the space. But yeah, I'd like to see. I'd maybe like to see it a little more fleshed out. Bathrooms have to be there, like, it doesn't have far to go. Right, get to the sewer line. So, but, parking lot, bathroom for sure, but I'd also like, maybe, in that other space, it's kind of spelled out, what's the blue circle there?
Play area.
Okay, so I think I'd like to have staff. Maybe have more input into specifically what other kind of amenities we can get included in the project.
Or Parks Board.
Or Parks Board, or yeah, like that'd be, yeah, great idea, right? Like, let's actually. Yeah, like build this out and. Don't get cheap.
Yeah.
I like that you brought with the different designs. One of my biggest concerns was with Roy Rogers being one of the entry points to the city, having this big concrete building right there is the first thing people see. And so the different options, even having it look like a house or something more aesthetically pleasing to that area of Sherwood is great to see that that's an option.
And we need to sign off on what that looks like, staff at least, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Renee? Oh, we can go to Taylor first. Okay.
Yeah, my biggest concerns were noise and odor. So if those are addressed, and then also how it looks aesthetically. So trees, I would add that to the list of things to keep there. And especially, I think that, and I've heard the Parks Board say this, we need different kinds of parks. And so again, looking at this as a different kind of park, and I know that we have a lot of young families, but we do have a play area just, right, a few feet away from that, really, in that power lines area. But anyway, so there might be an opportunity to make this a different kind of thing. And frankly, I'm supportive generally of it because I do believe that, especially if we're looking at, this pump house that we currently have has been here for 20 something years or whatever. And we're looking at the next 20 years, well, we need to build the infrastructure out for that. So again, I'm also with Keith that if it makes sense with the city to be done, we can make it work for both of us. So
Yeah, and then there's also part of it is, some sort of maintenance agreement, understand what their obligations are. So it's clear, no offense to the board that governs you, what they do and their roadways, but they're not very good about maintaining road right of ways, for instance. So another element I think is important is just to make sure that whatever gets built, and whatever is in the world of your maintenance, or you pay us to maintain, make sure that it's clean. Again, it's part of the mix. So if we were to take a fresh look at that in Sherwood West, that is, and we could put it highest best use, that's a lot of value that we're losing. We're gonna have some amenity, but we're certainly exploring larger pieces to have a signature type park in that kind of area. And this is limiting us by this, so.
Like,
Yeah, it is, I mean, the visibility and the traffic way is a prime spot, so that. It's value to them.
I'll just close it out then with my opinions, since everybody's spoken. I pretty much agree with what everybody said about, I mean, that's right on Roy Rogers, so I'm sure you guys are thinking the same thing about it needs to be aesthetically pleasing to people driving by. I can't remember in my meetings with staff where the pump station is, was that the flattest, best part of the property, or did it is, okay.
The original, when we were talking about it, in our one-on-ones, you saw the actual parking lot was behind versus where you see it today.
Yeah,
I'm not supportive of this thing. I've started interrupting comments, but just 10 cents. I'm not supportive of necessarily that plan.
okay, supportive of having a pump station and.
Having a pump station, bathroom, parking lot, picnic shelter, other amenities, maintenance understanding agreement, whatever, and fair compensation. Better than fair.
So I think we leave it with staff to work out more details, and it sounds like you have a support to the plan.
Yep.
Need to flesh out what that's gonna.
And as a side note, I am excited about the opportunity to put in a pump line through a creek between 99 and there and putting a trail on top of it. I'm very excited about that.
So we feel like you have what you need, Craig, and.
Yep.
team?
Great, thanks for coming, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Have a good one.
We'll see Garrett's out there.
Yeah.
Oh, see you.
Hate that I have to log in every time to show it from them. Why can't it just remember?
It's like the airport.
Brad. Blame Brad.
It's your fault, Brad.
Wants to know why she needs to sign in every
Time to show it broadband. Can it just remember me when I walk in the
Terms and
building?
conditions, yeah, was required to accept the terms and conditions, but we probably need to relook at that again, see if that needs to be done every time.
Have you seen it around?
Spreadsheet, David, did that hold up?
Yeah.
Maybe give it a minute or two, Garrett's not here
Yep.
yet. Okay. Let's see if I can see it on the parking lot. Picture thing, cheat that.
Welcome.
Yeah, 14 hours. Yeah. Oh, I'm breathing. Okay, here, so. We'll probably know that. Singapore was so long.
Yeah.
Then you come back.
Yeah, it's like to see that, something move forward. I like what they do want to pull on the side to say, we got to figure out something on this pipe going through our water.
Yeah. Because even if they say, hey, we'll make that easier on us, then I would even take less on the land. That's right. We can, I'm home.
What I'm hoping, I can't guarantee you
No, I
that.
know. I was thinking, I don't know Joe very well, but, cause I came after him, but, I think he just reached out. I've talked to him. It's one of those things that doesn't pass its sniff test totally. Anyway.
So I think that.
Did my notes make sense?
Garrett,
I haven't got any, I didn't check.
Does anybody need, I only printed off like 3 copies, but.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't,
I didn't want to print off,
if he doesn't bring one, somebody would have asked, hey.
it usually happens that way.
You know what? I'm gonna look at it just because you printed it. I've got it on my digital, but.
If Garrett doesn't come, can we can hold this without him?
Yeah.
Okay, well then we're gonna get started because I sense there's gonna be a lot of conversation. So I am going to call to order our community enhancement program meeting. And I'll kick it over probably to David for roll call.
Yes, Tim Rosner, I know he's absent. Kim Young?
Here.
Keith Mays? Renee Browse?
Yes.
Dan Stankey? Here. Doug Scott?
Here.
Taylor Giles?
Yes.
And Metro Counselor Garrett Rosenthal is not here yet. Yeah. So just kind of, just a few brief notes and then I'll let everyone get into the discussion. We're estimating our fund balance at the end of this fiscal year is going to be about $150,000.
That's the question.
Question on that?
Yeah.
I don't remember ever leaving that much on the table in all our previous years of doing that. Where did that come from?
Well, last year, we received a second pot of money. The regular city pot of money started decreasing. And so we got a little windfall of additional money. But yeah, we only awarded.
That we paid out all the grants.
Yeah.
150,000 sitting in the fund.
Or we take into account any grants we haven't paid out yet. Like if everybody spent theirs or if somebody hasn't, we've taken it into account.
This takes into account as if everyone's spending
Okay.
everything. So
But Doug, I remember us at the end of last time saying, hey, we want to save 20% for bigger.
Right, but this is way more than 20%.
Yeah, no, I know, but I assumed you guys had done that for previous years. Is that not?
no.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised this number is so big.
Okay.
And so the 23-24, 20%, I subtracted that off the amount. We're estimating we're going to receive about $100,000 this upcoming fiscal year. And 20% of that allocated cost, that's if you award everything, leaves you about $199,000 for this committee to decide on what they want to award. A few things down here. These are some of the city requests. They have been budgeted, if this committee were to say, we're not going to award or we're going to lower the award amount, but they have been factored into next year's fiscal year budget. So.
And all of those general fund items.
Except for this one,
The three one.
yeah, the 40,000, that's out of the street fund, street ops fund.
Can the video or pictures be moved? Sure.
I did submit my numbers today, but it was after the deadline. Fill them in. We need.
Okay. Sorry, I was out of town.
Do you have your numbers so I could, okay. I'm just gonna fill those in real quick.
I had. It's last year's. Maybe I don't.
Or we can just start the discussion and,
I can tell you what they were. So I fully fund the spring, well, changed it. Fully fund the first 4. And the next one as well. And then I skipped all the city ones.
oh, wow, whoops.
Undo. Uh-oh, can't find your undo.
The in-kind boxes, I fully funded the 720 on that one or something. No,
Your numlock,
not the right row, down, all the way down to.
but you
Yeah.
you said you wanted to fund that one too. Skip the city.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. What about the Sherwood?
Holiday lights, no.
Community outreach support?
Yes, fully fund, wine festival fully fund. Art in the Plaza fully fund. And
Audio equipment?
no on the last three. Okay, but now I have more information that will come up in our discussion, so.
Yeah, ditto.
All right. So we have a general consensus on, at least those who submitted on the first four. So where does Renee and Keith land on the Legion?
Mike? You wanna go first?
No, go for it.
So I'm very supportive of those projects. And I am very interested in staff politicals meeting with the Legion about having a conversation about doing a new relationship on the parking lot. And fleshing out what that looks like, if it's possible.
Can you give a background on what that means? Because most of us weren't around 20 years ago.
So 24 years ago, 25 years ago, the city signed a 20-year deal with the Legion. The city built the parking lot behind the Legion. With the agreement that the city could use it between, I think it was 8 and 5 or 7 and 5, sometime Monday through Friday only. For doing that expense, and then with the general understanding that if it went well, those 20 years, we would renew the deal under some set of circumstances, maybe you might need to do some work on the parking lot and maybe some other things that people might want. But unfortunately, when it came to the end of the term, leadership at the time didn't want to do a new
Legion
deal.
leadership.
Legion leadership, not city leadership. So I think there's an opportunity to have that conversation and see what all would be on the list about to reach an agreement to, because the potential benefit to Old Town in the weekday to our businesses is significant. I think it was a really good deal for those 20 years for some staff to be able to park over there. So
That frees up other parking around Old Town.
right. So it helps free up parking so that staff's not parking in the Robin Hood parking lot or at the art center or on the street.
So keeping two things separate, because one is a grant application and one is a conversation, like I wouldn't feel like we would say, we're not gonna fund you if you don't, but we could have staff start that conversation.
And there might, right, and just so from my side, and I would modify my list and fund all of the city stuff that's in the budget. And then say, now there's general fund dollars to be able to share in the conversation with the Legion, to make that arrangement and make improvements.
So the total of the Legion items is about 39,000. If
Yeah.
we funded $39,000 worth of city projects instead,
Yeah.
didn't fund the Legion projects, then we can have a conversation with the Legion about funding the $39,000 out of the general fund.
Yep. So in
In
my list,
exchange for the parking agreement.
yep, and there might be other stuff they need. They might need the parking lot striped, slurry sealed, they might want lighting. I don't know what might be on their list. But it'd be I think a good conversation. I know there was intent in last year to do that, but we got distracted with other stuff. So on my list, I would put back in the $30,000 line item. So that all those city stuff is on the list. And then I would, for me, it also folds into, well, that's what for the first four, that was my approach. If y'all disagree, that's perfectly fine too.
On that.
But their commitment, I mean, I know people that I spoke to of the Legion were very, very happy and surprised that we funded everything on the list that they submitted last year.
Yeah, in fact, that was the only reason, these were the last ones that I filled in for to see if there's money left over because we did such a large grant last year. And I thought, well, let's see and spread it around to other organizations. we do need more parking in Old Town, and so. Again, I don't want to tie them together, but I also, it would be a nice thing to have that conversation. And so, hopefully we can, if that's the mechanism we have to use, I guess I'd be for it, but I don't want to muddy the waters, really. I'd rather say we have the money. They've asked for the grant. So I don't know. Because we have the money for the other things in the city too, the other city, mostly. That's my thinking on that.
I like Keith's approach.
What?
I really do like that a lot, but if we were going to fund anything, I would say yes to the auto sprinkler system. And new flower bed, because that's the most external that would benefit
Benefits the
the
whole community.
whole community, and we did fund everything last year. And so I would say yes to that and then no to the others.
Are you saying no to the others with the possibility of using city funds for it? Because it becomes a little bit of a murkier.
No, I would say, I would be,
Okay.
if not taking into consideration that, I would say yes to that fourth one and no to the rest.
Out of CEP funds.
CE ones, yes.
I originally had the same thought as Renee. I like the fourth one because it's the front porch, if you will, and it benefits the community. Otherwise, it's a private club. I've never been in there. We're allowed in there. So I don't, and most of the community that applies, I mean, I love veterans, obviously, and everything they do for us, but those are not things that benefit a large swath of the community.
And are they a nonprofit?
Yeah.
And people pay dues to, that's what I thought it was called. Thank you.
I mean, if we use that philosophy, we could say that to a lot of these. organizations.
Not necessarily
I do use
using
that
that as a
philosophy.
philosophy.
No,
I was just-
that like does.
My philosophy, not
Yeah,
okay.
not putting it
What
on.
does that? Yeah. Okay. Let's skip over the city items for now. What's the next is the city, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's skip over the city one.
There is, okay, yeah, sorry.
And go down
To the
to
gift boxes,
gift box.
Yes.
looks like we have 5 out of 8 saying 720 fully funded.
This is the first time applicant.
Second time,
This is the second.
Yeah, we did this last year.
not last year, like
Couple years
3
ago.
years ago, 4 years, the year they first started. Again, this is also one that benefits a few and not the majorities. You could probably say that to all these, that's why I don't really use that argument, but I think it's like reading their application, I believe they're gonna donate one a month to the share center, which benefits our lower income.
Yeah.
I think it's.
Which is a nice part. I did not see that in the application.
The dollar ask.
They
And the dollar amount is
Yeah.
tiny.
And every one that is purchased, another one is donated, so
Yeah.
70, 45 into 720, whatever that is,
Mhm.
there's an equal amount that's being donated back.
Yeah.
We all agree full amount there. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about the Sherwood Holiday Festival of Lights?
Yes.
So this is the new lighting proposal.
Yeah.
It's the new lighting, but it's also the outlets, which I thought.
So here's my thought on this one, that's why I would go on this one. This should all just be done through the city. We don't need to run this, if the city wants to apply for a CEP grant, we don't need a partner organization. We should pick the vendor, we should pick the lights we want. We should own them, we should maintain them, we should install them, we should store them, if that's what we want. And so I would be in favor of doing this as part of our city budget through the city
But I
manager.
think in the grant, it says we are storing them and we are installing them and.
They're basically gonna gift them to
Yeah.
the city when it's
But
done.
we haven't done anything about vendor selection, we need to own the process that controls the selection of the lights. We don't even know if this is the best cost vendor, if this is the most compatible vendor with our systems.
Right, so do we have the bodies to be able to throw at this, or is it worth outsourcing that because we've already got enough projects on the city's plate?
You could turn between the Parks Board and the.
We're gonna have to use
Commission.
staff to coordinate anyway. I'd rather just reduce the complication and say, this is a city project.
Yeah, and that was my perspective.
Dave.
We had to have we haven't had a conversation that we need more lights. I think their new amenities could be great, but as staff indicated, there's not a plug on most of the poles to plug into if we install something on there. We have to figure out how we're gonna store this stuff. Do we need to How about we need to have a solution for these, I think we did have to have a conversation that's more than we can do in.
It's a multi-year project, and to me, it should be a city project.
All right, I feel
But
like,
I want Craig's input on that.
yeah, okay, I feel like that then we collapse under our own weight if we don't. If we try to plan out this can be a one-time thing that makes Old Town look great and that's it, and we just store it, or it can be something that grows over the year. Again,
Plug it in.
that's what part of this amount of
Yeah,
money is
so-
for.
When the group was putting in this together, we didn't have a price on the tank or the lights, what we needed. So what this $20,000 would cover is actually getting the actual outlets on the street light poles, because only, I think there's 13 or 15 of them, 50 some poles actually are capable of doing this. Everybody's.
So the 20 grand would show, it wouldn't be what the application says. The 20 grand would just be to put power to poles.
Get the actual outlets, so you can actually plug in if you were to go years down the road.
And then we'd have another process to decide if we would ever hang in them.
We were working through this. Dave and Russ talked to us about it, and it's close to, it's probably 17,000 or so to just actually get the outlets.
So-
From our electrician.
If this grant is just funding outlets on poles, what does it have to do with Main Street?
Well, they were just trying to be the conduit.
They were trying
We
to.
were just a conduit for Dave,
Yeah.
yeah, give me his name again.
Russell.
Russell.
And so it is a multifaceted project. If you put outlets on every pole, it would benefit every festival
Agreed.
in Old Town.
We should do it.
You should do it.
It should be a city project.
So, but this year's budget of 20,000
Yeah, we didn't budget it.
estimated, if I'm reading it right, year one cost 20,000. 60 lighted snowflake displays.
But that was
50.
assuming that the electrical was there, and
So
it's
that's
not.
right, that's not what this
Okay.
application is now becoming somehow.
So if we first need to fund the electrical on the light poles, then would we say no to this current application? Turn it into a city thing for 20,000 to.
So from a metro process standpoint, if anybody knows the answer. So the city hasn't submitted an application for 20 grand to build, to put power pole plugs on all those poles. At this hour, when we're reviewing it, can we insert such a project?
Or we can fund 3 city projects totaling $20,000.
Or just take it from the general fund because we're funding the,
General fund.
which is my thing with the,
You can do it that way.
so.
Or could the applicants change what they wanna do with it?
If the city's committing to putting outlets in, then the CEP grant could go forward in funding the actual displays themselves.
I don't think that's what we were getting at.
No,
We have done it before in the past where an organization has applied, but they've worked through Public Works and basically they're turning the money back over to us to do all the. So,
I'm to leave all the city grants fully funded. Say no to the festival holiday light deal. Come around the table, say, Craig, we think we should put power to those poles out of the general fund.
And then.
And then have a conversation about what to put on the
In our
poles.
budget next year, if we.
Or wherever else we-
Between now and budget time next year, as a city council, we decide, do we want more lighting? And if so, put it in your budget next year and we'll run it as a city project.
Okay, I don't understand why we wouldn't, I agree with on the electric outlet part of it. We have an organization who is trying to drive traffic to Old Town and trying to and they've already had 2 or 3 successful events where they've brought people down there. They're telling us that having 60 snowflakes plugged in for this period of the year, or whatever they are, is going to make it a destination, a place to come down to. For the dollar amount, it's, $3 grand, $4 grand for the snowflakes, the additional ones or whatever. Why don't we?
More than that, but.
Unless I'm not-
300 times what?
60 lighted snowflake displays at $275 each is 16,000.
16,000, okay. All right, but we could also do it, they said that they would even be able to do it fewer, right?
Is that even the right company to use? Is that even the right?
Well, but we're not asking that on any of these, right? How much is it?
But it's ultimately, this is an asset of the city.
Well, I know, but are we asking about the sprinkler system at the?
I want to ask Dave a question.
Yeah,
Did you have a specific company in mind, or did you just go get quotes right now for this, and then we can still work through a process to determine if that is the best?
No, when I had this idea a couple of years ago, I looked at the lights that you have in there and I saw the poles and I thought, okay, if we hung these large snowflakes on the each pole, that would be cool. There are 50, I forget exactly, it's like 57, so we added a couple of extra. I went down a rabbit hole. There are dozens of companies that make these light displays. And I looked at a whole lot of late nights, looked at a bunch of them and found what I liked a lot. And there are several companies, they make all sorts of displays, animated and different things. So I chose the snowflakes that I thought looked the best. There are several different types. There are LED ropes, there are the LED lights that are a little more substantial. So you don't have to put all 57 or whatever the number is up. You can reduce that to, I think it's 18 if you do Railroad Street and Washington Street and just make it T and then add from there. But the idea was get it started and then add on to it with displays all over the downtown area. So, and I had no idea when I talked to Craig, when Russell and I talked to Craig, he'd be here with his daughter, birthday today. We had no idea how much it would cost to put power in the lights. Obviously, power's there, but you have to have access to it. So Craig was great in trying to figure out if it's $17,000, okay, then light all of the poles, and you can use that for all of your festivals, not just the Christmas ones.
And I'm in favor of all of this. I'm just in favor of having it run more through a city. So that we can, Cultural Arts Commission can pick out the kind of lights we want and what.
What they should be verse on what companies are out there.
Yeah,
That would
there's a
be great.
million. I mean, there's a million places to pick.
And again, I love this. We have an organization that's saying they're willing to do that legwork. Why are we saying, no, we want to add it to people that are already, that have already, have their plates full with projects, right? I'm just.
I think we need
You
to do
absolutely don't
community
know that.
outreach on what the community wants on the polls.
So there should be, there.
No offense to Dave, I love the idea, but like, all right, let's run it like a city project. It doesn't need, no offense to Main Street, they don't need to be involved in it. They brought it forward to us. It's a wonderful idea. Let's adopt it. And ultimately, these things are gonna be owned, installed, maintained by the city.
Saw it as the windows of the boardwalk house. It was redone last year.
Yeah, those, which ended up running through the city.
And it wasn't, I think CP was funded through it though.
Yeah, and the city took the project on.
Correct.
Moorback put their own application, but then we
So,
said, that's not their
yeah.
problem.
The Historical Society put their application in.
Yeah.
CP
Yeah.
was funded, the city took it on as their project.
Yeah.
Cause we own the building, yeah.
Same.
It's a similar, I'm
Similar.
proposing basically that, like.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know,
Honestly, I have such
Yeah.
little buy into this. Dave knows much more than I do.
so I don't wanna, it feels like we're adding a layer of complication by running it through. Your organization who does wonderful work on a lot of other things you probably don't need to do in addition to running your businesses.
Yeah.
When we could just own this with our city and our boards and commissions in an appropriate place.
Let's let Renee and Dan chime in.
I was just gonna say the other way to consider it is because Dave and Russell have done the work, they could submit that proposal to the Arts Commission or to whomever to review and take that and move forward with bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
I do definitely believe we should.
I wanna do
fund it.
this.
Yeah, I
just
do
wanna
too. I
do it
think
the
it
right
would be
way.
amazing.
Okay, so
Right, and yes, it needs to be done the right way, and this is not, the right way is working with the city boards and commissions.
So if we need 17,000 to get electrical to, that's pretty much that amount. So maybe that's the first year project, is getting electrical
I
done.
think it was just a multi-year project. The Dave and Russell and
Okay.
Kristen, we all sat down and talked. This wasn't like. We knew we needed to get the electric.
So we get electrical done, then next year we look at adding what we want to the poles.
Well, right, well, in the next year, you have the public process of saying, all right, here's the idea, get the boards and commissions to weigh in on what they'd like to see.
Do we want snowflakes, do we want snowmen, do we want Christmas trees, do we want candy canes, right? Like, there's all kind, I love, Dave has his personal preference, but the whole 20,000 people might want candy canes instead of snowflakes.
Candy cane snowflakes, as long as it
As
gets.
long as it gets up, right?
I mean, I do remember like during COVID, when we had the extra stuff down there, the community loved it, so. I think this is important, and I think. Starting the process with the electrical and then taking Dave's brain and all his information and running it through cultural arts. Would be the next step.
And then you get you get the participation of the downtown
Yep,
core,
yep.
businesses into a competition or something, and you're driving business to
Yeah.
downtown Sherwood.
So does that work to like? No funding for this particular application this year because we will work on getting the electrical done. So that
Do we
can-
need to fund the electrical through some sort of
Through one of the city
pass
ones.
through of the funding three of the city ones? Or do you wanna do it out of general fund? Okay, so if we put the, I think 5,700, 5,000 and 6,500 are pretty close to the 17 grand, right? Flower baskets.
Well, right, if you fully fund the city stuff,
Well, now you're going back to the first conversation, which hasn't been said.
right? But you can use some of that general fund to do the electrical, depending upon how many of the city projects that are on this list you fund.
Yeah. Right, I'm just saying, if we get to the electrical cost, you're talking about flower baskets, tree lights and patio replacement is pretty close to a
Yep.
wash.
All right, so. David, plug in the flower baskets, the tree lights. And the senior center patio.
We're all in agreement on those amounts.
Cause that gets us to about 18, 19.2 or something like that.
92.
And then we cover the electrical out of the general fund.
Okay,
Everyone good with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kim, I'm taking your jobs.
You good with that?
Renee, you good with it?
I don't understand, when I added up the amounts that I funded, except for I only funded 10,000 of repainting Old Town. I funded everything for the amount of money we have budgeted to spend.
I
I don't wanna fund it,
I did as
I
well.
wanna save
I don't
money,
wanna
so we
fund
can do a
everything
big.
But it's not,
see, I don't get it. That's
So
the
it's part-
point
so-
of these funds is to spend them on community
yeah,
grants.
it's not our money, like, that does free up our money in the general fund to be able to do these other extra things, and so I don't understand why we're purposely trying to curtail it for this big project that is in the future that we don't know of when we have some of these projects, again, that are in front of us with people willing to do the work, so.
I think if we get this pot of money built up to, let's say, $250,000. We can do some really impactful, substantial, lasting thing that has a lot more total value than $10,000-$25,000 things.
Yeah, but how long? You're only allowed to hold on to it for like 3 years, right?
3
Yeah, but the way
years,
you roll it
but
over, it's
the way you roll it
all
over.
just accounting. It's fine.
That's,
If we had, say, 300,000 built up and we were only receiving 100,000, yeah, I'd have to monitor that more closely, but I wanna be.
I feel like.
And people have to agree with me, that's my
skirting
point.
the intent of the program.
I know, and frankly, I would rather see little tiny mini placards all over the city that say provided by, this community grant fund and tax dollars at work and stuff like, to make people be like, oh, all of these things are rather than saving it up for this one thing at the end of the day, right? We've got, again, I'm only one voice on this, but I do feel like we're being unnecessarily,
Well, we can go through the rest of
so, no, let's keep.
All right, let's go on to Robin. David, do you have a question?
No, I was just you were moving there, five of the members said 12,000.
I'm 12.
Well,
So that one, I think is fully done.
What's your opinion of Robin Hood's request?
Everybody else is 12, isn't it? I probably wouldn't fund it all.
Less than all or all of it?
I wouldn't fund all of it.
So the majority says 12, so.
Correct.
Okay. Sherwood Wine Festival to do the Rotary, so this is a non-capital. So I guess I would like to point out also that we did say a lot of ours that we would like them to be capital projects or startups, so.
I put 0 expressly just because I'm a Rotarian, so, it's the only one that I was. It doesn't meet any sort of true conflict, but I was just more or less abstaining on this one. So that's why it's 0 on there, just to be clear.
Yeah, and I put 6,000 and I don't drink, so.
I put fully, I also fully.
But I feel like it's a benefit to the community and I always enjoy when those things go on and
And it draws people from
draws
both sides of the
people around, so, yeah, I disagree.
I fully.
That's why I just thought that's why I decided to.
And kind of just remind, it was, priority was gonna be put on capital projects is kind of what the committee talked about. So we fine with $6,000 here?
I'm not going to vote either because
So
I.
then, yeah, the rest of us said full.
I believe this, so
Party in the plaza.
I say yes.
I'm saying I put 0, but in reading it, that it's they want, this is the last time to build up and get advertising for futures. I'm supportive.
Yep, love that plan.
I think it was a great event.
Is it okay to put
Support it
77
again.
back?
Yeah. I think we gotta support getting people into Old
Renee
Town
also
as a
said
habit.
fully fun.
Okay.
All right.
Plus we got good use out
All
of
right,
it.
do we want to tackle microphones or baseball fields first?
Is somebody here from JBO? I'm
Yes.
guessing.
Hi.
Okay, let's talk about baseball fields first, because the other two are gonna be related.
Questions on this one. So I had, just for my sake, I talked to Jim Rose today to get a understanding of why an outside organization needs to pay to improve their physical assets, you know? And as far as he explained it, the pads that are gonna go on the backstop, if I'm understanding right, you guys wanna take them off each season and they'll be yours, you'll own them.
Correct.
Okay, so that's it. Jim said, yeah, that's something they wanna do. We wouldn't be improving the backstops, they're. Cause they don't use the elementary school fields for their competitive baseball, so that's the
Use them to
question.
generate revenue.
They do use them to generate revenue. So that's the answer on the backstops.
How much of that grant is backstops?
13,000.
It was like in the 13K. So
Mhm.
the other part was improving the actual dirt fields. Having a conversation with Jim Rose, he's a good guy, but.
Oh, I don't agree.
The agree, well, but anyways, the agreement or the discussions that are usually had is the school district will take care of the fields. And their interpretation of that is mowing the grass and watering it. That is it.
So disappointing.
And so over time, everything is just deteriorated. So everything from the middle school, former high school, all that stuff has just deteriorated. And being the new board coming in after everything that's happened, I'm pretty sure you're all aware of that. We're trying to turn this around. So kind of the things about the community seeing things changing, one of the things is the backstops. And that was like starting and taking care of that. And the school district doesn't necessarily, they'll say flat out, they don't.
So
They're
the
so
dirt,
to be honest, to.
So they do own it. Literally, they literally own it.
They do, but they're gonna lie to your face and say.
So here's where I'm at on this, and this is why I said no, and I was very excited to see the Sherwood baseball application on here, because I wanted to like fully fund it. I was, thinking it was gonna be like uniforms, balls, gloves, bats, equipment, stuff that, was under ownership and control of your organization, or even support for rental fees for a year or something, great, write a check. When I saw that the grant was essentially to pay to basically insulate the high school from expenses or the school district from expenses that should be borne by them, right? Because you're talking about the backstops and you're talking about not
infill
cleaning
dirt.
up the field, but actually like major one-time or every 5-year maintenance of, which probably when we maintained the field, we probably did that every year in a minimal amount, and so it didn't get to the level that it's at now. Because now we have this major improvement project to bring in dirt and fill it in. And again, my frustration with this is now the school district takes that benefit that's gonna come from this grant or from your organization, and they turn around and sell it back to the community through rental fees, not just your organization, but other organizations. And
Understood.
I'm
I mean, from.
struggling with that. I'm struggling with
Yeah,
that.
from a high level, the majority of people that are renting those fields, I'm struggling to find people who have also rented those fields. For the specific use of what we're doing. We do owe the school district a
a bunch of the money. And these improvements, we would like to get them, they would actually owe us because of how much we've already put into that.
Are they agreeing that they owe this money to you if you
No,
invested?
No, I'm talking just from a high level, the amount of work, the amount of money, the already upfront costs that we have taken, that we've used everybody's funds to play baseball has been put into that directly. And the answer from the school district is they maintain the fields. But it's mowing the grass. And watering it.
So there's no
That is-
expectation that the
There is-
fields are
they don't
playable.
blow- They don't blow it out there. I was out there all this past weekend picking up all the garbage. Picking up the garbage and taking it to a spot. And then we get a phone call from Jim Rose saying, hey, there's garbage on the side over here. When are you gonna go pick that up?
Again, can I reiterate how much I don't like?
No, you can't.
So, and I know this is.
So let's get, yeah,
Again,
We're in a tough spot because we're trying to make it.
and we
better.
get, that's what that part we understand and we get, are
How many
excited.
kids, how many kids play?
I think we have over 600 kids.
So if we look at it that way, it's not about the school district, it's about the kids that are playing ball. And they deserve to have better than what they have.
Yes.
Let's forget about the fact that the school district's not being a good partner.
So we're gonna hide and cover for their failure forever.
That's
For
what.
600 kids to play baseball.
We're
Kids are playing baseball.
more than halfway is what I look at it as, where we're saying, we want to be good partners with you,
They don't wanna
right?
be good partners with us.
So
We've got to be the bigger people and say, we're gonna.
As one of the board members, because I'm the treasurer. One of the.
The
things-
new treasurer?
I am the new treasurer.
Yeah. Not the one I never met.
Yeah. Hi, I'm here. One of the things that we've talked about was, I call it the meeting of the families.
Yeah.
So everything from football, tennis, soccer, baseball, even basketball, even though they use everything inside the buildings. Everybody as a board then needs to come and meet with this group. And there needs to be some level of airing it.
What group?
Air out
With the school district, meet with the school district
and the city.
and the city.
We don't have a role to play. They're not our fields.
I know, but you're assuming.
We are
that-
advocates for these organizations.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean,
We can try.
So that is a goal of at
We
least the
got
president. that we've talked
slammed the
about.
door in our face at the joint meeting a couple months ago.
It's one meeting.
So, Dan, what's your take?
I understand Doug's concerns with this. At the same time, the kids need to play on the field and they're not being maintained. And it's for the community. This is exactly what this fund is for, I believe. And I know that it's not ideal with how the school district is managing the fields, but like,
I am so embarrassed.
of all the things, the fields are the most community used, I think, of all of these.
Yeah.
And I would also say, the community thinks we're all one team anyway. And so it looks, even if it's not owned by us, it looks bad for the city to have such.
Big
terrible-
sign out that says these
I,
fields.
no,
maintained.
I say we go ahead, look, we will figure out the behind the scenes stuff and the political stuff and all of that later. I'm with Dan, the kids, and by the way, I had one kid do one season of baseball and it was excruciating because of how many games there were, but we had good quality fields there and I want to support it, right? I want the kids, if they're willing to go out and play. No, I know, so what's the problem? Are we gonna try to twist the arm of the school district to go out and do it?
Problem is, if we perpetually hide the problem from the community, then it never gets resolved where it.
But let us figure out how to long-term solve
At the
it.
body who owns these fields
I
and
know,
facilities.
but let us as the leaders figure out the long-term solution and
think
get the kids
The
playing
majority,
today.
so Renee's fully funded. The majority of say fully funded, so that one gets fully funded.
Is these backstop things, are they gonna be up for the whole season and you guys take them at the end of the year?
Yeah, we take them at the end of the year.
You own them and you will store them.
They will
Can you put something on it that says this is funded by a grant from the community enhancement program?
I will.
Under that caption, I will agree with the
I
rest.
mean, if you notice, we've changed all.
I want it big. This was not funded by the school
I
district.
will, yeah, we can.
You can ask that request, but
So few people even know they're different buckets of money.
I do have a question though, sorry, Dan, go
I have
ahead.
another question as well. For the netting at Hawksview, is the school district responsible for that?
It's another thing that they will not take ownership of. even though they have insurance and things.
So they should just sell these fields to us.
So until some kid gets
Sell the
hurt.
land to us, sell the fields to us, we can own them, we can make
But
it.
those are being
They don't
sold
want
as
it.
well with this money, correct?
That was not. We have already paid for a lot of the dirt, so the idea is,
Reimburse your phone.
yeah, we can do it that way.
I saw you're bringing in like 88 yards of
They don't want
dirt.
expense.
How
So, yeah.
often will that need to be done?
We,
Hold on.
Can we put a caveat that says they can't, school district can't charge these kids to play?
No, we can't dictate what school does.
I mean,
I was curious, how often will you have to refill the infield with the dirt?
so. It should not be every year or every, I don't know the duration.
Okay.
Every
What was our maintenance? What did we do when we did it?
So I mean, let's just, some of the turfs and stuff that they're talking about, I mean, it's expensive, it's $1,800, I mean, just for a high school field, it's like $1,800 for a season just in turfs. Let alone, you actually,
Talking about just soil.
but you soil, you actually gotta come in if you do it right and compact the soil, bring in soil every year, cut the lips on the fields.
And you guys did that?
Yeah.
And that's
I
what
think
they're gonna.
they still have.
That's what we're
but
trying to do.
Right, but because you did it every year, it didn't get to this level of disrepair. So the yearly maintenance is a lesser, and we had the people and the equipment to do it. We didn't have to hire an outside company.
So it sounds like if they get to the fields, they'll
We just got a
be
couple
more
years.
easily maintained after
Correct,
this.
right.
Okay,
We're not buying that much dirt.
okay,
I mean, that's a steady cost. It's already within the.
All right.
I put no money in there because I wanted to have the conversation and understand it more.
Me too.
Thanks for being here.
You could,
I said, I hope somebody, and that is why I got
The
the,
point is to keep kids coming back every year.
Totally
I,
agree.
I,
We
right,
all want
we
great
want
fields
kids,
and we're
yeah.
super frustrated by the current situation.
and that's why I made the phone call today, because I wanted to understand, and they said, no, if JBO wasn't using them, we wouldn't be, there'd be no maintenance, we'd have no need to maintain those fields.
What's our total name?
Yeah, to the absolute failure, and we're paying through our nose with the flip flops, nothing.
Okay, now we're on to microphones for Voices for the Performing Arts and the new Star Society. We
So-
have previously funded mics for Sherwood Foundation for the Arts. So just to get separated, there's 3 different arts organizations, all of which need microphones or
And we've only ever funded microphones one time in this program, because I feel. like
2 times for Foundation for the Arts. They split theirs in 2 years.
1 and a 2, okay.
And they need new ones already.
No, this is the 2 different ones now.
So this is what prompted me to have a conversation with Kristen, and I think with some of you around. Maybe we should just buy microphones for the art center, and when people rent the art center, they can use those microphones or pay a rental fee to use the microphones, and then the rental fee money can be used to buy new microphones when they need replacing 3, 4, 5 years down the road. I'm starting to get a little heartburn about funding 3, 4, 5 different sets of microphones for every different organization around the community.
So my
They're really expensive.
input on that would be, not all of these organizations use the art center. Like Voices for the Performing Arts does, but they also use the middle school theater for some of the performances. The Star Society, I think, might be using the art center, but they also, they're brand new, less than 6-month-old, but they also use their own facility, which was the old yoga studio upstairs above.
Their facility doesn't have audio equipment.
No, it's an old,
No, it's just a room.
yeah,
It's a Masonic Lodge room.
above the,
Yeah.
Rebecca Center.
Did you get a chance to talk to the art center about
Yeah,
that
so,
idea?
yeah, they both plan to use the facility a couple times a year, but they do have needs outside of the facility.
Does the art center own microphones, wireless?
We have some, but they're more set up for presenters. They're not the wireless kind, yeah, like true
theater.
kind.
Is that something the art center could or would be interested in doing if we? were to do
Yes,
it?
and what Shannon and I talked about is we could potentially purchase them and loan them or rent them out. Almost like we do with the library of things, where you have a box of microphones and somebody checks them out and then has to bring them back. And we could do it that way.
Those are so fragile that having them,
Somebody maintaining them and cleaning them.
There's gotta be like a damage waiver or something.
Right, and so we did, kind of invest a little bit in the program, but I assume that we'd also charge for it, because $12,000 a piece.
No, it's
Almost.
13,000 and they were getting,
20, I think they were doing 20 and the other was. Yeah, 14 or 12.
So these things are like $800
So
a
we
pop.
figured, yeah, for,
About 600,
Yeah.
600.
so it's definitely possible. It would take a little bit of management on our part, but for that much money, we can figure it out. If that was the direction.
But I
we wanted to
think-
go.
So I think there's two things here. There's these grants and then there's longer term. Is that a direction we might want to go in with the Art Center? Sorry, Kim.
no, I just remember the reason why the SFA, the ones we've already funded prior, finally wanted to purchase their own was the cost of running them became for a nonprofit to own them. When they rented them twice a year for their big shows, it cost them a lot of money.
But they were renting them from a for-profit company, like Rose Audio was, renting them for $150 each or something like that,
Yeah.
right? And so we wouldn't be charging, we wouldn't be trying to make money off of people, we're just looking to keep up with replacement cost or whatever.
We wouldn't be trying to make money off, I mean, isn't that the goal of the art center is to become self?
I look at the microphones. as
Yeah,
being
but-
cost neutral, right?
Yeah, I would say the renting of the art center is part of it, and then we just cover our costs on the other stuff, it's like I don't know.
I mean, if that was the understanding, then I might
Charge enough to cover the maintenance.
Replacement.
and have money put aside for replacement type.
Right, to have something kind of set, but not as much as it would be.
Yeah.
outside. And I don't know if that would work for them. They might want their own and just say, we don't want to mess with it. There could be scheduling conflicts, there could be.
So I think we should look, here, my thought is, we should look at the feasibility of a program like that for the future. Table that from this conversation and then consider these two grants outside of that conversation. Is that? I just wanted to bring that up because I think that's something and if we had that program, then if someone came for a grant 3 years from now, we'd say, we're not gonna fund your grant, but we have this program in the city that you can utilize.
There's other entities that use our art center. And they need wireless mics.
They bring their own, CYT probably brings their own.
Yeah, yeah.
Right now, they have to bring them.
Well, because we don't have enough to.
But I like Kim's point of, they also have another performance space, so, right? And so if they're doing small plays, like I know they did a kind of a small Shakespeare play in above the, they need mics for that. And maybe they don't because it's such a small space, but they theoretically could be doing it in the park, they could be doing it other places.
Or Voice of Performing Arts uses the old high school's theater.
Yeah, in fact, they even did some in Cannery Square. I don't know if they're still doing those, but yeah.
Oh.
I wanna make sure they're viable.
Renee.
They've already put on 2 plays and they've got 30
Support of
people.
funding these, we funded the SFAs, and I feel like these are bringing additional arts to the community. I mean, it's not ideal that the private.
But because they
Nonprofit owns
had
them.
some fallout, now we're on the hook for 2 fundings instead of 1. Cause these were the same organization. like,
No, they weren't the same. They just had some people
Splinter off.
split up and start their own and they're doing a little bit different focus than
Yeah,
SFA.
And just to be clear, it wasn't these two organizations, the split off was the SFA.
Yeah,
It's not funded
not this,
by-
correct. Voice of Performance is totally different.
I'm on board with voices. Star being so new, I'm a little.
But one of our things we talked about like 2 years ago was funding startups.
yeah. And Frank, and I think they've done 3 plays now. And frankly, Sherwood has shown that they support performing arts and lots of groups, frankly, I'm and they're all volunteer, none of them are making money, and they've got 30+ people in the current show that they extended for another weekend because of ticket sales, and so I don't think.
Where does their ticket revenue go to?
They're a nonprofit, so they
It
host
goes to printing programs,
Those
and set design
the rights to the plays.
Right, yeah, and so they're not cheap.
I'll vote it, sounds good.
Well, again, it's hard to make the argument to not fund these when we said yes to SFA, yes to VPA. And by the way, VPA held on to their mics, which we didn't pay for, but they held on for 10 years. So, if I can get another performing arts group for another 10 years,
So we
I'm
have
good.
about 6
I'm good with
minutes
both.
left.
So I'm a yes to both, but I can't remember the specifics of the grant. And I was going to look it up. If Voices is 96, why is the difference?
The number of mics they're getting.
Yeah, in fact,
And I don't remember the
it
specifics.
seems like the VPA is getting a better deal, and so I would encourage. I would love for both of these groups to buy the same mics so that we can,
Yeah, why don't we should just pool it and get a better deal even by buying
yeah,
the
because
total number of mics they want from one contract.
yeah.
The CEP pays it and then we hand them their mics and.
Okay, so
10 grand.
Anyway, I was wondering if there was some way that we can give them both the same amount of money or do something like what Doug is suggesting. But I am in favor of funding both of them.
Yeah, and I've put in 10 grand for the new one and the full amount, which is basically 10 grand for the second one,
I was
was what
just
my
gonna-
input was.
pull up the other one.
I just
Star
don't-
one. 16 mics for Voice of Performing Arts, it looked like.
Yeah, but then it's only 5 for Star. Right.
5 mics for 13 grand?
20 lavalier mics.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So 20 and 16. So, but what I noticed with Star is they didn't give us a quote. David, do we only reimburse, do they have to prove what they've spent?
Yeah.
Okay,
So.
so there,
They submitted closeout documentation and everything, so yeah, we
Yeah.
require all that.
so I want to fund Voices for Performing Arts.
Okay, so that one's the full amount, 96.
Anything around,
Okay.
they're pretty bad. So maybe not 20 mics for Star since they're starting up, or
Oh.
Give them the same amount of Voices.
I'll have to figure out how to spend the money.
fund them 10.
I say fund it, but say talk to VPA and see where they got.
It's about the same.
No, they're about the same, 16 and 20. They're.
I know, but I'm just saying, okay, well, frankly, I think having the same mics is valuable just in case they do shows together or in case they work with his or her
The
system.
company that
And so-
EPA got a quote from is one that we work with for sound, so.
Oh,
we're
that
also
sounds good.
making sure-
Yeah.
All the people in those arts groups all talk to each other. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not using the same one, but.
Can we put that caveat on it that they
What if they-
coordinate and buy the same mics or talk to each other or?
No, what if
It just would make
they
it
think
for their
someone
life
else for their
easier.
group?
All right, well, I would be in favor of the 96.89 then for both groups.
Now we got differences of,
I don't know why we wouldn't just give them the extra $4 grand, but.
I'd rather give it to VPA. They've been around and proven themselves a lot longer.
so we got,
Well, you got.
are you switching your amount? No,
No.
so we got 4 saying the full amount. 2 saying lesser.
Oh, Renee.
I would be supportive of the same amount as VPA.
All right, I can get on board with that. Change mine, 96.89. So now we have 33. Wait,
4 and,
two.
well, Keith is at basically the same.
Same as
Okay,
what you just said, it's fine.
so you're fine with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
The
96.
majority of that, yeah.
All right, now back to American Legion and a few of the.
That's our total, we're at about 100 grand now.
We need a total at that bottom line. Can you just copy
93.
and paste the formula?
Sorry, what did you say?
93, that's correct.
Thank you. I would still agree to the sprinkler.
You also have the majority that have funded all of American Legion.
I would do 40 grand in repainting Old Town and then go with the Legion negotiation to get all the things funded in exchange for parking.
Repainting Old Town, what does that mean?
So that's the blue light poles.
It's basically just the
I'm
money.
just gonna get
swap.
out there and.
You're gonna powder coat the flagpoles or?
Okay.
We will get them repainted properly. And get wiring.
Okay, we have about 2 minutes left.
We also don't have to decide this tonight.
Well, we
It'd be-
do, we're like,
We need to
According to the
put it up.
mayor, we can carry it over.
We have to vote on it in a
Yeah.
public meeting.
I'm just telling you, we don't have to settle it tonight.
true, but, we do have to know the funding for.
I would put 30 grand in for Moorback, 40 in for repainting Old Town. And the Cannery Square upgrade, and then have a conversation with the Legion and make a deal.
I don't wanna do that much. I think it's more in reserve.
Okay, so audio equipment, we have 4 folks saying $4,000. Renee?
Yeah, I think that would definitely be a benefit.
Sounds awful at Christmas. Tim's got 63. Oh, he's.
He didn't really split it all up.
So you can change I wanna take the first 4 off of mine. And add the 40,000 retaining hometown instead, under the caveat that that's basically a swap or renew deal. But we would fund the Legion through general fund with an agreement for a parking lot.
And do you want me to add for the other city projects? Are you in agreement with those?
No, only the ones the ones we already penciled into the.
57, the 5 and the 85.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I could get on board with, sorry, David, go ahead.
oh, no, I was gonna say, okay, so the more back house window replacement, we have only,
I'm a no.
no, okay. Dan, you're no, Doug? What's that?
On window replacement?
Yeah, we got
So
general
just,
fund, we got
so it's in our budget.
It's funded through our budget, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So nothing there?
And,
It's hard to tell where Tim was thinking.
well, he just.
He just said not to fund any of the city ones, was his plan.
No, he did 63,000.
He just didn't.
That amount of fund.
He took whatever was left.
I see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't spend it all.
So
So in theory, he probably would agree with that.
So
30 or 40.
Well, we don't even need to do 40 if we're already doing the 18, 19 for the sprinkler. If you're really trying to minimize the cost to the fund.
I was looking at, if you look at their 4 projects, it's like 39,000.
Right, but we've already funded the sprinkler by doing
Oh,
the
well,
flower
we didn't
baskets,
pencil it in.
tree lights.
Well,
Right,
because we're gonna spend it out of.
Those were for the pole lighting, those 3 things were to offset the pole lighting.
Oh, gotcha,
Not the
okay,
sprinklers.
okay, never mind.
So my thought is that those 4 things equal to 40,000. So we fully fund all 4 of those things with the parking agreement through the general fund. And we take 40,000 from the CEP to fund repainting Old Town.
All right, I could do that.
I don't agree.
So Kim, you're at 40,000?
Yeah.
And then Renee?
Sorry.
All right, put you on the spot.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry that I was gone. Didn't have a chance to do it.
So David, what, if we don't have a consensus tonight on these,
We could, I mean, we could come back. I built flexibility into the budget, the way a budget is if you were fully funding everything. So there's not a concern there budget wise for the city budget. It's just a matter of, well, we're not gonna award the ones that haven't been decided yet.
how's our meeting on the 18th? Forecast agenda forecast.
I believe you have right now. Work session.
We could add another 30-minute work session to discuss, fund the ones that we've all agreed on. Those aren't gonna
These ones
change.
right here.
Yeah, we're not coming back to discuss ones that we've all agreed on.
Okay.
So all of you that are here, those won't change. And then we'll go back to discussing the Legion and the city items. Have a final.
Okay, but so did we agree though on doing the outlets?
Yeah.
So-
Yes, correct.
Okay, so I feel like we have to add a note on that we're denying.
Oh, sorry, we did
Just
those other.
just go to Craig's here, he's understands the will of the group.
Understand that we've said it, I'm saying does somebody need to make a note somewhere that we've now said we are gonna do that as phase 1 of lighting downtown. Okay.
If we need to pass a resolution and, from the funder from the general fund or whatever, let's do it.
I'm okay with the repainting Old Town. The only thing that I would like to see us fund with the Legion is the sprinkler system.
You want 40, but
So
we'll come back and have further discussions next meeting.
you want to, regardless of conversations with the Legion, just greenlight the Legion. yard.
I love the idea of the conversation, but in case that conversation doesn't go the way that we're hoping it to go, I would like to see us fund the sprinkler system, because that does add.
I would agree with that.
It does add definite value to the
Okay,
outlook of the,
so you've highlighted what we're gonna come back. I'd
And
like
this-
I'd like the more back too, right? That's,
Okay.
So,
so,
so then what level do you, for that offset, do you wanna reduce the amount that would go to repainting from this instead of 40 to 20?
22 and 21.
what are you trying to do, Keith?
So, I mean, we're.
I think there's consensus to
There's
fund
consensus
the
to fund-
sprinkler system piece no matter what.
Yep,
And so
Oh,
we fund that and then we make the other three the offset to
The 40,000.
I can do that.
you know, we could do,
Yeah.
like, we could do less than 40,000 on
Yeah.
repainting Old Town or something. We do a partial grant or something.
do
20 grand.
20.
We have 440, so Keith, are you thinking, do you want to come back and have this discussion?
Change mine to 20.
Okay.
So does Keith.
With the 21 up there, I'm supportive of dropping it to
yeah,
to
and
the
I'd be
20.
okay with that too.
All right, me too.
Taylor, are you still at 10?
Funded everything.
Renee, did you say 20 also? Okay,
So we can.
And Dan, I just want to make sure you still at.
I don't agree with doing that type of deal with Legion, so I'm still at 0
Okay.
for that.
Yeah, I feel like it shouldn't be, I don't like,
On this.
I feel like there's strings attached at that point. I want to be I just want to be a good neighbor. I'm with Renee. The outside thing is great and we'd love to fund the other ones. And I did fund them, you know, and let's still have this conversation. You know, there's 60 grand into us.
I think you need to make that 20, take that 20 out and make that a yellow still, that's still up for discussion. Because to me, that's only, I think what we agreed to is that we'd only fund that if we got the agreement.
okay, so in,
I don't like
we
that.
have a whole room full of people out there, so.
I'm
it's-
I'm not on that page. I'm
Yes.
for it just being 20,
No matter what.
no matter what. And then, and I would, and
Okay.
So let's just leave it as it is, all the things that are highlighted, we'll bring back for discussion.
And we agree on, I mean, we'll have to make.
There's still 4 of us that are saying fully fund the American Legion, Taylor, so.
No, I don't.
So we'll just finish the conversation when the mayor will be here. Maybe can we have a conversation with the Legion within those 2 weeks? Get us another work session schedule and we'll parse out the final.
Okay, we'll get it out of the next meeting.
I love to have a conversation with Legion.
Okay,
Thanks, Greg. Thank you.
and we will call this meeting adjournment. We'll about 5 minutes. Council meeting start.